Welcome to the Men of Wonder podcast. My name is Curry, your host, and today we're going to be talking about seduction. And it's been a while since I've made an episode about seduction because I don't even know why I haven't made one. But there was a question, and there's a guy who was saying he usually talks to girls, but for some reason he ends up in the friend zone. And that's an interesting one because a lot of guys actually do this, and it happens to a lot of guys all around the world. And there's fundamentals on having interactions and making them more of a sexual element to it, or so where it's a female to female, male to female interaction where there's potential of dating, having sex, and so on and so forth. And then there's also interactions between men and when I'm saying men and female, men and women, I'm just talking about in the sense of men and women, but it could be women and women and men and stuff like that. So the difference that changes the interaction into a sexual element is not that the more friendlier you are, the more they're likely to, drop their knickers or something. What makes the difference is the fact that you have to present yourself as a sexual creature rather than a friendly creature. Because when most guys, when they approach a woman, they actually approach and then they try and not rock the boat. So for instance, they would approach, if the interaction is going well, they would then sort of be malleable. And what that means is that they would change their entire way of thinking and everything just to be agreeable to the woman. And because of that, you become bland. And if you go back into her existence, or if you try and walk into her shoes, she's already had sort of interactions where she knows a guy's having an interaction, but there's an ulterior motive. And she's had experience. And they have experiences like this from the age of 11 or 12. The moment that they have boobs, or boobs that's coming out, it's a natural thing where they start getting interest from guys. So guys of her age, when she gets even a little bit older, 14, 15, she starts getting even interest from adults. Obviously, because of socialization and because it's wrong to sleep with children, most people would back off. But there is the sexual element with the conversation. So she's already had years of experience. And because of those years of experience, she can snuff it out, sort of sniff the desperation of wanting to have sex from the guy. Because even though you try and cover it up as I'm going to be a friend, and usually that's what kills it, because you're not being yourself, you're not being authentic. So generally, when you now come to actually trying to get some commitment, she's like, I'm not sure, because you seem very friendly, So how would I go about this personally? Generally, when I used to go out, and for anybody that's been out with me before, they know that in the conversations that we have with ladies and so on, I generally just talk shit, generally. Because one thing that you understand, so let's say, for example, in a club, if you approach a woman, the first thing that she's thinking is, holy shit, why has this dude come here? What does he want from me? Is he a player? So there's all these questions that are coming up in her mind. And if I go there and then I'm desperately trying to prove that I'm different, I'm not a player, I'm not all this. The more I try and convince her, you've made that conversation so logical that it's very difficult to break, because in her brain she's already going through all these things that and again, it also depends on the experiences that she's had. So she's also had bad experience in a club with a guy, where maybe a guy tried to chat her up, and then she said no, and then the guy screamed at her or whatever. She's already replaying all of that stuff. So the moment you try and become friendly and you're doing all this stuff, I'm really sorry for the background noise. I'm making some coffee. It's not a reoccurring theme, actually, me making coffee, making this podcast. Anyways, so it there's all this background stuff that you don't know, and if you make a decision to approach and you're trying to seem non-threatening, usually it works against you. And it's the most weird thing about humans, that you think the more like friendly you become within the interaction, the less likely they're gonna have sex with you. Just it is. And it's not even like maybe some women would still, like, literally the percentage is anywhere from 90 to 100, 99 to 100. That's how crazy it is. Because, and this is why I said whenever I'm in that, I would be literally talking shit. And when I say talking shit, I mean I'm literally talking about stuff, not for her, but that will just personally amuse me. So I would talk about, and again, I cannot even take you through the conversation, because I don't even. The weird thing is that I always say, whenever I'm in we used to call them sets. So whenever I'm in an interaction in a group of people, I would usually start off a sentence saying, "Do you know what?" And some of my friends actually know this, that whenever I say, "Do you know what?" I actually do not know what I'm going to say before I say, "Do you know what?" I'm like, literally, I just say stuff, whatever comes to my mind, as soon as it comes into my mind. And when I do say it, the motive with that is actually for me to enjoy myself. So like, I'm saying stuff that would amuse me. And what happens is that because it's amusing me, it takes the pressure off her. Because if you can imagine, if I've come off that interaction and I'm seeking some sort of reaction from her, she now feels under pressure to actually either get into a certain frame of mind. But if I just take that whole pressure away from her, and I'm just talking about stuff to amuse myself, and again, it has to be relatable. So I cannot be talking about, for instance, like one of my passions is engineering. I cannot go and talk about engineering, and even though it's amusing to me, it's not relatable to her. So it has to be something relatable. So usually what I find that's relatable is generally talk about relationships and like the awkwardness of relationships. Even within that conversation, depending on the outcome. So if I wanted to maybe end up kissing her, or I would introduce that pretty quickly. And most guys would say, how quickly can you introduce sex in a conversation? 30 seconds of the interaction, pretty much. It just sets everything from that point on. And also, like, generally, if you talk about sex straight away, if she's not keen on having sex, or she's frigid or whatever, so sorry to use that word, I think it's just a horrible word, but yeah, if she's frigid, straight away, and then you don't have to waste time. So again, like post-COVID, when people go out, this is some of the things that you like. Most people are craving human touch, so the barrier to actually get somebody to bed is going to be very, very low. I can guarantee you that. But there's still going to be fundamental things that you're going to you need to do. So like, you coming up and becoming friendly within the conversation is actually going to disqualify you. And if you get disqualified after COVID, and wait, that's like so savage. I mean, like, dude, that would be absolutely horrible. Just thinking about it right now, like, this woman has had a year and a half of no proper contact with the man, and you come over there and she still decides that no, fuck it out, dude. Anyways, what I'm trying to get at is that your conversations that you have to be coming from a place of like personal amusement, and then you invite them into that a bubble of personal amusement. And once you invite them into that bubble, then it shows that you're cool. You're not looking for any outcome. Again, that's I think I made an episode about outcome dependency. So if when somebody senses that you want something from them, it makes them feel apprehensive. So that's one of the reasons why this all makes why a lot of guys fail when it comes to this place. And I'm not talking about in the sense that you should go out and sleep with all the women. I think it's not the right thing to do. If you want to go out and sleep with women, and it's consensual and you're being honest, you're not trying to trick them to sleep with them because you want to be you're telling them you want to be in a relationship. No, yes, to be truthful, I think we're now in a society where everybody is free and there's sexual freedoms, and people can actually have a connection and have sex without the actual commitment of a relationship. But what I'm trying to say is that this question that I was asked was just more to do how to not be in the friend zone and how not to get in the friend zone. And really, essentially, what I'm trying to say is that you need to actually put yourself out there straight away. So, like, I'm a sexual being. I'm not going to be apologetic for it. And when you do talk, you have to create the imagery of you being a sexual partner and her seeing you as a sexual partner. And this, one of the things, I think this is the tip I'm going to give you on how you actually can do this, is actually, again, amuse yourself. But I would usually amuse myself along the lines of sex and stuff like that. And I think one of the things that I do quite often, even up until now, is hear a word and then create it into an innuendo. And I do it not even just on women or anything like that, just even around my friends that are guys. I just find a way. And it was a thing that I did in order to sharpen the tool, so that whenever I was in set, that's how I'd be able to just innuendo anything that the girl says. And if she gets it, again, for me, I'm doing it for two reasons. One, to see if she's interested in sex. Two, for her to actually envision me and her in bed. And again, if I see that she's not envisioning, she's okay with me talking about sex, but she's not envisioning me with her in bed, then I sort of backtrack a little bit. So I'll give a bit of distance, talk about something else, and then I'll revisit. Obviously, there's other things that you can be doing. So we used to talk about like having conversation, and then you'll be there's two conversations that are happening. There's the verbal and the non-verbal. So the non-verbal will be me now getting closer to her, me holding her hands, me pulling her in and stuff like that. That starts enhancing the conversation, where I'm actually giving her signals that this is not a normal interaction. Me holding her on her hips and pulling her in is actually an indicator that this is not a friend zone type relationship. If I put my hands on her hips and then pull her in and she resists, I know that she's not ready. So I can step back, give her some space, conversate, talk about, dicks, whatever I'm talking about. But generally, now again, when I'm saying talk about dicks, I'm saying the conversation shouldn't be centered around sex. It should be centered about, around stuff that is amusing and fun. The other bit is also, I think, I'll have to cover on a different podcast episode, is that yes, the initial state is to try and be personally amused and everything like that. But the other thing as well is how to actually create the connection and how to actually speak to her in order to create the connection. Because sometimes she might see you as a sexual person and she might imagine you having sex when you're having that time when you're personal amusement. But for you to transition from the imagination to actually happening, then you actually have to create a connection. Now, that connection, there's certain things that you can do in order for it to actually happen. Again, that's a different episode. Hopefully, if you guys want to hear that episode, I need you guys to let me know on Instagram that that's what you want to hear, on how to create a connection. But yeah, so generally, when I was speaking to this guy, and this is one of the things I was saying to him, and I said you should listen to this episode. So hopefully he's listening to this and he can take away some of this stuff. And this will definitely stop you from going into your friend zone, because it's horrible when she says, and somebody that you're attracted to, that you like, and they say, oh, you know what, I'm not ready for a relationship or whatever, it's a bit shit actually. So I hope this is helpful, and guys, go to the Men of Honor Facebook group if you want to learn more. I've not made content yet. I'm definitely going to be coming to make some more content inside the Facebook group. I've been busy with other stuff at the moment, but I thought, start making the podcast, I'll start getting momentum, and hopefully if I can start getting feedback from you guys, so I can know what sort of content I can make for you guys, so you can just pull information out of me. So that would be exciting. Thank you very much for listening. Hopefully I'll be seeing you guys very soon.